Good evening. Wanted to welcome you to the banquet tonight. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Gerry Hope, and the planning committee, I wanted to ask you to stand for a quick moment so we could make sure to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, there. It fades in and out, it just drops out. And I think it's intimidated by Sergey Khan. Sergey, why don't you stand? Steve, Peter, and there's Walter, there's Dick Downhauer, Nora Downhauer, make sure to stand, Ishmael, Hope, and do we have some of the ladies too, in addition to Nora? Marcia Hotch. And did we have Irene Dundas? Is Irene Dundas in the house? Has Irene Dundas left the house? And Sarah Dibdahl. Is Sarah Dibdahl in the house? And there's a Dion Cadiente. Is Dion Cadiente in the house? We wanted to make sure to recognize those, even though they weren't able to make it tonight. Give them a round of applause, please. And it's with their sensitivity and respect to Brother Andy that they had asked if I would hold the title that Andy had with the clan conference in previous years from inception to his untimely passing. And it was with all humility that I did accept. And it was with great honor as well. I wanted to ask you if you like the food tonight. We were really pleased when the Alaska Native Sisterhood Juneau Camp number 2 said that they would work with us on getting it cooked and served. And did you guys get all served? Well, hey Kim, I have this organized here. I have this organized on what I was going to do in terms of recognition. And so I just wanted to, that wasn't a judge joke about you being served. Dry joke, right? Dry joke, right? It's those who have been served that are going, ooh. We wanted to make sure to bring forward the Alaska Native Sisterhood Sitka Camp, or Juneau Camp number 2 forward. Mickey Kunz, if she would come forward, please give her a round of applause so she could recognize those who worked with her.
Thank you all, everyone. It was wonderful when Steve had contacted me and asked if we were willing to do this. Right off the bat, we said yes, and I didn't even check with the sisters. I got myself in a bit of a rut. But I'm all glad they were behind me. Camp 2 is a very busy camp. As everyone knows, Grand Camp Convention is held this year here in Juneau. So we're doing our best to raise the monies to help Camp 70, who will be sponsoring Grand Camp Convention this year. I have a team of volunteers that help me faithfully with our fundraising. I don't think there's very many times I've had to rely on other people. These are faithful volunteers with Alaska Native Sisterhood Camp number 2, and I would like them to stand, please. We have Edward Kunz III, Johnny Everson Jr., John Smith III, Janet Dick, Mimi Goodwin, Elijah Harris, John Garrison, which was the main cook, Lina Garrison, William Garrison, Peggy Exkindine, it was certainly a pleasure to be here with you. I didn't get to see much, but I'm glad I was able to feed you. I would also like the officers and members of Alaska Native Sisterhood Camp 2 to rise. Kim Metcalf, first Vice President Percy Kunz, Second Vice President Marie Olson, Financial Secretary Francine Jones, Carol Brady, Camp Chaplain, Carol Tribune, Songbird, and Assistant Camp Chaplain. Thank you all very much. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Mickey. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Mickey. Really appreciate the Alaska Native Sisterhood Juneau Camp number 2. And also wanted to ask you to give a little bit of applause to the Juneau Orthodox Choir for them blessing the food. One more addition.
I'm so sorry. One of the most important people that was helping with the coffee for the last couple of days, Yoko. She's a student at the UAJ. Yoko. She deserves a big, that is a lot of work to keep up with coffee drinkers. Thank you, Yoko.
It's because Yoko did such a good job, we're wide awake right now. Quite a distinguished group of officers and people that you have in Camp 2, Mickey. I really appreciate all the effort. The keynote speaker for tonight, we're really pleased that she took time to not only say yes, but also to have a lifetime of commitment to the Alaska Native people in a wide range of areas. It includes the Alaska Native Brotherhood. It includes Clinton-Haida Central Council. It includes the arts, such as the Southeast Alaska Indian Alaska Cultural Center, and it includes the National Park Service. It includes things that are also on the national level that she probably will not touch on, but she has done an exemplary job in trying to improve not only Alaska Natives' status and place, but I would argue the people's status and place. There is some discussion about when you're involved in the Alaska Native Brotherhood, you're fighting for Alaska Natives. And there is certainly unqualified merit to that. However, when there is a victory such as equal rights to Alaska Natives, that makes all of Alaska better, not just Alaska Natives. And there is a long list of other accomplishments from the ANB, of which Ellen Hope Hayes has some lineage and has tried, and has not only tried, but has been successful in representing Alaska Natives. So it's with deep pride that I would like to have you give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker tonight, Ellen Hope Hayes.
Where do you begin if it were you in my place? To begin to comment on the value of being Indian today and looking back in retrospect to when it wasn't okay to be Indian. And my thoughts run this way. I knew it was strange to be Indian since I was little. And I was living in the cottages as well as in the village. And in 1970, I declared myself to be a born-again Indian. I'll repeat that. In 1970, I declared myself to be a born-again Indian. At that time, it was being said among the public that they were born-again Christian. But in my grandparents' time, it wasn't okay to be Indian. So it was laid aside for quite a while. And so we didn't learn about what it is to be Indian. It was laid aside. It wasn't going to be discussed. It's not going to be talked about, because we had things to do as a tribe. We had things that were serious and needing attention. And we couldn't be both tribal people and Christian people and people seeking citizenship. So after the Indian Education Act, it was okay to be Indian. And so you began to examine, what does that mean? And this conference is one of several that has been happening since then. And we pay tribute to Andy Hope for his enthusiasm and his steadfastness and never being really in the way. Oftentimes you get in the way. You don't intend to, but you get in your own way and you get in other people's way as well. And in these conferences, Andy was steadfast. And it's good to count on steadfast conditions. And that's what we had. We've been looking at ourselves to see what it is to be an Indian today. And my remarks are prepared remarks, because I know that after supper people want to doze off and lay in an easy chair and fall asleep. So this is brief, but you'll have assignments to do after you get home. And so that's where your duty lies. Sharing who we are organizationally is the theme, is the topic that I chose. Sharing who we are organizationally. We have been gaining knowledge about ourselves as Native people, as Indian people, constantly for a long time. And in a more formal sense, since the early 1970s. In Sitka, the place of learning that stand out are the Sitka Alaska Native Brotherhood Hall, the Sitka National Park, the Southeast Alaska Indian culture. Those stand out to me. Others do as well, but I'll leave that others thing to Gil Truitt, because he's a reference on sports history, especially in Alaska. Our younger generation is often confused about today's institutions. Corporations and tribal governments came into existence and how they relate to earlier organizations. In the beginning, we organized our tribe to live together with respect as clans. Change came to us long ago. That change came dramatically and traumatically with the Ice Age and with the European explorers. Conflict and confusion were brought about by the Russian-American company Their purposes and business was in the taking of sea otter and other wealth to make Alaska a colony of Russia. Change intensified when Russia sold Alaska to the United States in 1867. The U.S. military forces occupied the land and water, setting the stage for the expansion of missionary and government activities. Our people changed in response to the new conditions, converting from the old customs to Christianity and Westernization. The tribes of Southeast Alaska needed to organize in order to claim land in the United States Court of Claims. And I want to repeat that. The tribes of Southeast Alaska needed to organize in order to claim our land in the United States Court of Claims. And so our people came together and formed the Alaska Native Brotherhood in 1912, the oldest civil rights organization in the United States. Besides focusing on the land claims, citizenship, equal rights, and the Alaska Native Brotherhood was active in the support of education. Article 1 of the Grand Camp spells out these and other missions. And I want to read the purpose, Article 1, the purpose of the organization, because we're looking at Alaska Natives organizationally. And the one that was ours to understand and to see more than many regions did was the Alaska Native Brotherhood organization. The purpose of this organization shall be to assist and encourage the native in his advancement from his native state to his place among the cultivated races of the world, to oppose, to discourage, and to overcome the narrow injustices of race prejudice, to commemorate the fine qualities of the Alaskan natives of North America, to preserve their history, lore, and virtues, to cultivate the morality, education, commerce, and civil government of Alaska, to improve individual and municipal health and laboring conditions, and to create a true respect in natives and other persons with whom they deal for the letter and the spirit of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and laws of the United States. Quite a mission for these people to take on. The Alaska Native Sisterhood soon followed, and together the organization accomplished much for its members and the generations beyond. The ANB Hall in Sitka was the center of the tribal community, a gathering place for many and varied events over the years. Meetings and special events of the meetings and special events of the ANB, ANS, and the Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes of Alaska. Money-raising events, sports, entertainment, memorials, funerals, the U.S. government school programs, modern dancing, roller skating, community Christmas programs, Sitka Indian Education Administration, classes and events, many other activities. The Sitka Training School and the Presbyterian Church, the Russian Orthodox Church and culture were also strong forces at work and strong influences of the community. Especially vivid to me is the Sheldon Jackson School and Junior College with its motto, competent Christian citizens. That motto was a part of the mission that was the most effective for me, because we were even graded on our attitude toward these qualities. In the summer, when the ANB was in recess from meetings, we took the opportunity to earn money during the cannery season, gathering and preserving food to enjoy during the winter. The children were the berry pickers. You'd have a bucket that mom or the older members of the family help prepare us to use, and we put string around it and put it around our neck and go berry picking. You could come home when you were through berry picking, but you had to have a full container. So those times of meeting our cultural needs were important to us. In addition to the Alaska Native Brotherhood and the Alaska Native Sisterhood, the Central Council of the Tlingit and Haida Indian Tribes of Alaska, and the Alaska Federation of Natives were important in securing our land claims, culminating in the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act of 1971. The settlement established the now familiar structure of the Alaska Native corporations on the village and regional levels. Today, there continue to be local ANB, ANS, and Tlingit and Haida community meetings, but they are no longer the overall strong force in tribal issues. They are weak in attendance throughout the year and dependent on gaming permits for income. I wanted to bring out the fact that in order to survive, they had to organize themselves and lay aside who they really were at that time and learn how to identify their issues and use the system to get there. Understanding the system at that time was a challenge for them, but they had a way of dealing with that. Young people today should be encouraged to research the old records and write reports of their findings. And the adult community can help by having the right questions being put to the young people about what they are discovering from those old records. It's important for us to begin to put together our archive by all of you sitting here and those who are younger. Their view of who we are organizationally, what the purposes were, to evaluate those accomplishments, and to see if the way that we operate our organizations should continue, should be altered, should be laid aside. And it has to come from the Native community. I want to emphasize in any way that I can right at this podium how important it is to do our own research of who we are organizationally from the time we were, from inception, including now and as we look into the future. Involve our young people, involve ourselves in seeing what we are now. And that's the reason I'm excited about this sharing motto. Sharing with each other so that we can all know where we are and who we are and what we need to do today. Therefore, I read the challenge now again. Young people today should be encouraged to research the old records and write reports on their findings. Knowing how our organizations developed over the past century is vitally important to the understanding of how they relate to each other, and continue to work on our behalf. 2, young people need to become active in these organizations and to make them responsive to new challenges as new challenges arise, to meet the needs of the new generation. There is a 1981 publication by Peter M. Metcalf that gives the history of the Central Council. I thank Peter for his fine work. With some modification, this material can become a course of study in the Indian education program for the tribes and beyond. I wrote my own motion here that you could use. Motion is, excuse me. I lost my motion. Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. And I so move. So all you need to do is second the motion and proceed. I end this presentation, which I have called Sharing Who We Are Organizationally, by mentioning briefly the former Sitka Community Association, now known as the Sitka Tribe of Alaska, and the Southeast Alaska Indian Cultural Center as organizations that are also a part of who we are. Thank you for this conference, each one who has worked so hard on this, and I encourage you to continue to do so, to evaluate where we are, so that we can chart more accurately where we want to go and why. Thank you for this conference, for the opportunity to speak, and for the respect shown to the memory of Andrew Hope III. Thank you.
Wanted to have Aunt Ellen stay up here, and I wanted to give a photo op for her and the family to come forward. Excuse me. Boy, Yoko, my throat's dry. Yeah. So I wanted to have Karen come forward so we could do a photo op, and have Kendra and then the great-grandchildren come forward so we can have a little photo op. Steve, could you move this food tray? I got to move this podium a little bit so we can. Andrew. And she wanted a great nephew to come forward too, Andy the Fourth. She wanted you to stand with them. Take your hat off, though, please. Good old uncle words, huh? How about Uncle Percy? Did you want him to? Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll just keep. I see. Just right there. Why don't Andy Four? Why don't you hold off for just a quick minute? We'll get the daughter, granddaughter, and great grandson forward first.
My daughter Karen is on this side, my granddaughter Kendra's here, and her son Robert, and Andy's son, Andy. Come on, Andy.
Oh, hold off, Andy. Okay, Andy, come over by Karen here, please. This is Andy Hope the Fourth. This is Andy Percy Hope. There's 4 Andy or Andrew Hopes. Andrew Percy Hope was the original one, and then there came Andrew John Hope Jr., which was our dad, and then Andy John Hope the Third, which is brother Andy, and then this is his son, Andrew Percy Hope the Fourth.
Are you going to be in the photo?
We want to bring Uncle Percy Hope. He was named after our grandfather, his father, his middle name. Percy, would you come forward, please? Robert, stay here.
Who's going to help him?
Oh, okay. So used to Uncle just hopping up here by himself. I'd like to thank Robert for having the sensitivity and support of his great uncle. How about giving Robert a little applause for his work here? Too busy looking at the cameras, Harold. Who is it?
Ishmael.
Well, he wasn't here earlier. Where are you, Ish? Get over here. We don't need an invite. Gee. Some of you might not. The one of you that might have been under a rock for the past 20 years, this is Ishmael.
Yeah, I didn't know how you guys were organizing this. Sorry. We weren't. Yeah.
I'd like to thank Walmart for providing the clothes. How about a round of applause to our keynote speaker, Helen Hope Hayes. We just wanted to have the rest of the evening for fellowship. Peter, Steve, we could probably have open mic for those of you who would like to have a few comments. But by and large, we just wanted to make sure to give you an opportunity to have a good meal and just to have fellowship, take a pause. We know that it's a pretty intensive week. A lot of things happening, a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to talk about. And we just really like to have an opportunity now and then to just pause and visit with each other. Gracias.